So let us dive in a little bit into the topic and share different understandings of solidarity, which will then open us up in our concentration to listen carefully about the examples of good practice that will follow. Have your time, read these 8 interesting examples and share us your opinion on the scale of this example is not really, doesn't have any solidarity dimension, or it is really a solidarity action or example. Of course, I am going to ask you for a brief comment on some of the examples, so you can think on it before everybody responds. So then let's briefly open the floor for comments. How does it, I mean, what specific comment would you like to give to an example, or in general? What struck you or made you think?
I can comment on this liking Instagram post or for some organization. Sorry, I can't see because I'm on my phone. I don't think that's actually useful and showing any solidarity. Like you spend a lot of time on internet and liking things, and doesn't mean it will help someone. Like liking posts doesn't actually help people. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I cannot agree with that, since I come from humanitarian organization. Of course, your like is not useful at that moment, but it definitely does spread visibility of that organization on the internet. So it's good for the organization.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody else? Something that you found particularly interesting?
Maybe I would just add for this that, I mean, it also depends who is doing it, because I don't know, if some really famous person likes a post, for example, and shares it, it can lead to the fact that a lot more people are going to see what is this organization working in. Somebody is going to involve themselves because of this person who only just pressed like. I was before maybe thinking, yeah, it's not so important, but I think in general in work with NGO sector, it's really important visibility. And that a lot of things, even these things that are here, for example, I don't know, volunteering to help somebody in floods, it can lead from some social media post or something like that. So, and basically all of the things that are on the list, I think all of them are really some part of solidarity, and it really depends from situation to situation, but all of them represent some part that we can have in local community. And of course it's solidarity, and I mean even helping somebody or taking out the trash, I mean all of this tells something about our local community, so it helps in some way.
Thank you very much for the comment. Anybody else?
Well, I actually agree with Milica. I think that we shouldn't be measuring solidary activities one against the other. I think all of these, including liking a post on Instagram, obviously not as active participation as the rest of them, but they're all bringing something of yourself to the community. So I don't think that they should be measured as one is more or the other is less solidary in that respect. Everybody gives as much as they can, and I think that's as much as we can ask for.
I would like to underline that as I mentioned in the objectives, it is important to consider different perspectives from different actors, volunteers, local community organizations, and is exactly how then it shifts and change how we perceive it. Anybody else maybe would like to share something, and then I'll ask you for the next step.
Maybe just one more comment from me. For example, here on this list, stopping to help a car in trouble is the second listed most solidary activity, but it's actually, according to law in Croatia and probably everywhere else, it's actually your obligation to stop to help a car that is in trouble on a highway from you as a driver. But for other activities, to do social workshops or to help renovating homes in devastated floods, you actually have to make some step and some extra effort to be part of those activities. So I see it as even more solidary than the stepping on a car to help them.
Okay, thank you very much. I will mention and give a brief comment on my side that there might be a word called environmental solidarity. I don't know if there is a concept like this, but doing something for the environment is largely considered to be solidary action to everybody else, and doing something in an organized way, like renovating homes after floods, is one thing, but another is one pole, let's say, of an extreme, while on the other pole is an unorganized action, like helping a neighbor or helping an old lady cross the street, and doing something in an unorganized way is still an activistic act or act of solidarity, as much as it is helping in the floods. The results are interesting. They show us something, and they give us a little deep into the water of solidarity. So having these examples in mind, and ask you briefly to contribute to this word cloud, by sharing your thoughts on what inspires solidarity in these examples. And I'm going to bring it back now so that you can have it in front of you and remind you of what we just did. Here it is. So what inspires solidarity in these examples? Okay, we have the screen in front of us, and the keywords are coming up. Many discussions were led about solidarity, especially in European Solidarity Corps, and it is a fact that different organizations and different actors consider it differently, and that is okay. However, there are some main principles and values that were that are considered to be accepted by all, and of course they come up in every discussion, no matter where it is led. In the Padlet that we shared, you can also find the design that I suppose everybody involved in ESC saw it already, with this little cake with 3 layers that says the most general concepts of solidarity, that are not accepted generally, but considered important, and those that were accepted by all. I don't have them right now in front of me, but we will have space where our guest speakers will surely mention them, Magda in particular, so I don't want to steal the floor from you. 8 people responded. There are many words in the cloud: desire to help, active participation, altruism, help to other, willingness to help. And let's consider this a good dive into the workshop and a good introduction to the guest speakers that are going to present their programs. I would ask Matea Panduric from Humanitarna udruga Fra Mladen Hrkač to present us her organization. We will allow also some time for questions to Matea, and I am going to open her presentation. So Matea, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Matea, coming from a charitable organization, which is called Fra Mladen Hrkač. Basically, our main mission is to spread solidarity in our local community and wider. We provide the accommodation for people that come from different parts of Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and wider to Zagreb for their medical treatment. We also add psychosocial support during their stay in Zagreb. And in recent years, since our organization is 10 years old, we also developed other different projects which are all oriented towards homeless people, poor, elderly, severely ill persons, persons with disabilities, war veterans. Actually, more or less, we provide help and support to people from all of the disadvantaged social groups and our city. Reaching solidarity aspect in implementation of European Solidarity Corps project was actually something that came to our organization completely naturally and was according to our main mission and missions. I will now show you a short example and presentation. I would like to just start this video. We will not watch it whole since it's 2 minutes, but maybe for 30 to 45 seconds.
Sudjelujemo u podjeli paketa za najsiromašnije građane u Zagrebu i Zagrebačkoj županiji. Zajedno s drugim djelatnicima humanitarne udruge Fra Mladen Hrkač razvozimo pakete potrebitima te im pridonosimo malo svoje pažnje i vremena.
Beskućništvo i rizik od beskućništva ubraja se među najveće socijalne probleme u Republici Hrvatskoj. Kao volonteri Evropskih snaga solidarnosti.
Maybe we can stop it here. There is an English translation, but maybe we can just skip to the next slide, and I will try to explain what we saw in this video.
Okay.
Okay, in this video, I wanted to point to you, as I see it, 2 dimensions of solidarity. First dimension is solidarity activity of providing help to the poor people. 2 girls that you saw in the video, Mara and Tanya, they were our long-term volunteers in Zagreb. As you could see, they were holding some packages which they were bringing to the poor people whose addresses or locations where they live we collected from other organizations in Zagreb who take care of homeless people or people who are hungry and very, very poor and cannot afford even completely basic things like food or some hygiene products. And the second dimension of the solidarity, we can stay on this slide. And the second dimension of the solidarity is that we, in most of our volunteering programs, we include persons with disabilities. Maybe you could see that the girl, Tanya, the second one that was speaking, is a person with disabilities. Young people that have health issues or disabilities are at the same time volunteers that provide the value for other members of the society, in this case for poor people. And on the other hand, they actually receive at the same time support from other volunteers who do not have any kind of disabilities, and they receive a huge opportunity in their life to be finally included. And I see it as in all of our European Solidarity Corps activities that we develop, I see it as one of the most important things, that we offer the possibilities to be included to the young people with disabilities. On the previous slide, you could see some pictures of our volunteers also working with the local public kitchen. What is some recommendation from me for other organizations that are maybe not humanitarian or charitable oriented, but they can partner with other organizations from their community who do have more humanitarian or solidary activities, because public kitchens probably always need help in distribution of food, and also many of them have users who cannot come by themselves to public kitchens, so you can maybe help around with bringing and delivering packages to the addresses of poor people. We can change slides now. This is also pictures for public kitchen. Also, what please just go back. Also, what I see as a huge, really big opportunity, and what we do in our local societies. Europe has a growing population of older persons. Those people are, maybe we do not see it always that way, but they really cope with loneliness and maybe even depression, and are really glad to join any kind of social activity, especially if they are surrounded with younger people. For that kind of activities, you don't have to have any special knowledge, or but you have to maybe just be a little creative and have a good energy, and that will attract older people to be part of your program. Also, what we did and what we do in our European Solidarity Corps activities, we do visit some people who live in very, very bad health and in very bad living conditions, as you can probably see from this photo. And how do we find those people? We have a network, and we communicate daily with big organizations like maybe Red Cross or Caritas or any big humanitarian organization for your local community. And they usually have data or information where those kinds of people live. And also, how did we ended up at this location to visit this old sick lady? We spread our word on social networks that we will have volunteers who are willing to help. And a couple of people did contact us that they know about that kind of cases that we can visit. So my recommendation is that your organization is always in contact with other local organizations, that you have to put some work in developing that kind of network, but in the end, then you have a lot of opportunities to help to the community and to share those real solidarity activities. Here, I just we can just go through this fast. The second dimension of the solidarity that I see it here, you can see that we involved two girls that have Down syndrome in our projects, and of course you always have to adjust and think of activities that can at the same time be approached by persons with disabilities and other volunteers from the group. And in this case, this was the short-term 2 weeks volunteering for them. We can go to next. Yes, that is just some photo of other persons with disabilities in our programs. And what is including persons with disabilities and being solidar in that way can be real hard work, but with a good preparation, you can deal with all of the possible problems. In short-term activities, I propose that you always have accompanying person, and you need to actually find a way how to motivate that person to get part of the projects. And in long-term activities, you have to get to know a volunteer very well before they become part of your organization for a longer time. Our next topic is cooperating with Western Balkan organizations. The only projects that we did was with partner from Bosnia and Herzegovina. That was Nadbiskupijski centar za pastora mladih Ivan Pavao II from Sarajevo. They did one pre-departure training for one of the long-term individual volunteers. And they also did host our volunteering group for 2 days during a 15 days long activity. They provided evaluation activities, and we were really satisfied with that cooperation. But the actual idea was that they will, since that project was held in Bosnia and Herzegovina, that they will coordinate whole project, but in the end they didn't have actually capacity to do so. So we had to take from Zagreb, we had to cooperate with everything, and in the end they just did activities for 2 days. But we did see possible I don't know, problems for future, and we already talked, and probably next time we do plan to continue with this partnership, and for the next time both of the sides will be better prepared for the activities. So we definitely will keep this partnership. Yes, and that's it from me. I hope that I wasn't too long and that's why my input was helpful to this workshop.
Thank you, Matea. The examples were really informative, and the practice was excellent. I'll open the floor to anybody willing to ask a question or make a comment to the presentation of the work you are doing.
I have one comment, maybe. I'm really happy to hear that your last example was including an organization from Bosnia. I also know them. They are anyway also accredited for quality label, having a quality label. So I'm happy that you also somehow reflected on the how this partnership went, and that despite this initial difficulties, that next year or in the future you are planning to collaborate. So I would just like to offer my support in this to you, to your organization, but also to the organization in Bosnia. Just this, maybe.
Yeah, thank you very much. They were really in the end a really great partner. They have a lot of capacities even for accommodation and all of the other. So I see them as real good quality partner for the future. But of course, when you work, it was the first time for us and first time for them to do this together. So of course, I believe that the next time it will be even more successful.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Matea, thank you very much for presenting.
Čice, imam ja jedno pitanje.
Yes, Yellow.
Of course, I always have a question, even when I mail. Matea, my eyes were caught with this example of intergeneration cooperation, because it's not still in, especially in Serbia, if we are talking more specific, it's not so, this kind of cooperation, especially between youth organizations or civil sector and institutions for taking care of elderly people, is not so much developed still. So I'm wondering how it goes with you. How did you manage to partner with, I don't know, maybe homes for elderly people? Are they private or public, or how you reach them when they are in institutions?
As I started my presentation, I said that we already have a lot of projects. So we, in our organization, we have other EU projects that is oriented towards PVDs and elderly people. We have 3 psychologists and 1 social worker, and they, in teams, they organize workshops for older people. And then when European Solidarity Projects volunteers come, they already have activities, and that is why I mentioned that we do not have a lot of trouble with having solidarity activities. We maybe have more trouble with dealing with some administration work regarding European Solidarity Corps, but still we need to find those older people somewhere. We do reach to the elderly homes. It doesn't matter if they are private or they are public. You just go there, you send them an email, you ask you talk to them and you ask them if you can present your activities there. For example, actually in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we did visit for 2 days in a row. We did visit one same, it was actually private elderly home, and they were really open for us to come to have musical workshops, and older people really do not need much. They just need someone to talk to and to spend time with. So it's a great activity. And in the previous group in Bosnia and Herzegovina, that is the most favorite activity of all of the volunteers, and everyone said it was their best day of having fun with elderly.
Thank you, and thank you, Yela, for raising this question. Another invite for organizations from Western Balkans. If you have a question for Matea about the program, feel free to do so, or write down, and you'll have some time also later. Okay, we are warming up. We are warming up to the questions. Thank you, Matea, very much. The presentation will be available also on Padlet for those of you who would like to return to it and to have the contact with the organization and maybe ask the question via email or chat later on. Thank you for your availability, Matea. I will invite Janez, our colleague, Janez Matos from Trojnostni Park Istra, to present. Janez, would you like me to try again my excellent skills in sharing screen?
Well, I can share it and we'll see if it works. So
Okay.
Thank you for inviting me. First, I would like to say also thank you to Matea, because it was really inspiring. We do similar stuff than you, and I would really like to discuss it maybe later also with you, how we do it. So first, yes, I will share my presentation. So yeah, I come from Park Istra, or Trajnostni Park Istra, which means Sustainability Park Istra, because we do all kinds of projects. Not only volunteering, but also other things that are connected to sustainability in our region. So from 2014, when we were established, we have hosted about 1,200 volunteers already from all over the world. And in this time, we managed to accomplish about 2,500 volunteering actions. Also, we were recognized also by Salto and also other organizations. We got nominated last year for top 5 volunteering projects in Europe. And the goals that we have is basically to promote solidarity, because we perceive this as a base for some kind of successful, good society. But also we want to change the lives of locals and our volunteers too. So how we do it, we have a center that we basically renovated. It's an old army barracks where we can host about 20 volunteers at any time. But usually we have about 15 volunteers, a group that comes to us usually for about 2 months. And what we do is actually respond to the needs that locals have, locals and local organizations. So it doesn't matter. So that usually we have about 3 actions every day. This is our weekly plan. So what we do is actually we respond to the needs of these local organizations and locals that call us. And then basically we leave volunteers to sign to which action they like the most. The actions can be daily, or they can be very long. They can be every week for years, or they can be a month, every day, or they can be just a daily action. What we do is very, very diverse. We basically support everything that is good in our region. So one thing that we do probably the most is help people in need. And this help can be very, very diverse also. So it can be construction. For example, here at the bottom, there is an example of an action we had last year for 2 months, which was that we actually built an apartment for a family in need. So then up we have making wood for elderly that have no firewood, let's say. So the Red Cross calls us and tells us to help. Then we also help elderly farmers that get sick or they have no one to take care for their fields. So like everything that actually helps. Of course, we also have local organizations like Red Cross, Caritas. Also, we cooperate a lot with the social work center, how to call it, Centra za socijalno delo. I don't know how to translate it in English, but yeah, they know a lot of people who need help. Because this part is for us sometimes hard, you know, to reach people who really need help, because many times they don't really want to say that they are in need, or it's very hard to find them. So this part for us is hard. So that's why we really have to cooperate with a lot of different organizations to find them. Yeah, then we have also, I don't know, animal shelter. We have weekly actions there and so on and so on. Also, we support local communities. Many times they are connected, like a village, and they have a project they would like to do, but they have, I don't know, not enough funds or not enough people to do volunteering, so they call us. So this is, I don't know, from painting the children playground or all kinds of local actions, let's say. Yeah, we put emphasis on preservation of natural and cultural heritage that we have in our region, because this is an important aspect. We need green jobs, let's say, in our region, because in the countryside where we are situated, there are not enough jobs. So we support also, I don't know, local tourism, green farming. We manage with the local mountaineering organization. We take care for the hiking trails. For the, I don't know, we build old walls back and so on. We do cleanup actions, everything that's good for the region. We also work a lot with elderly and kids. We work in retirement homes. We make concerts there. We kind of make company to old people. They sometimes just need conversation, and it helps them a lot. So yeah, we do workshops for kids with, I don't know, from poor families. We organize camps for them, very, very different stuff. Well, this is one aspect of solidarity that we work on, but I think the other aspect is of the same importance, and this is this is aspect of working with volunteers. Our volunteers mostly come from they are mostly with fewer opportunities, because we want to offer them firstly the opportunity to join us. So they are from poor families, or they don't study, or they have like actually problems in their lives. We sometimes or mostly include in every group that we host, we also include volunteers with kind of bigger disabilities. Either it's, I don't know, depression, OCD, like mental problems that they have, or we also include sometimes refugees, young refugees that come to Slovenia. So we cooperate also with the center from Postojna. So yeah, I think because it's important for them to have this experience of doing some meaningful work and positive experiences that they get from the locals when they help them. They see the change, they see the gratitude in locals. So this is something I think very, very important for them. Also, we have a structured life where they spend together like a family time with other volunteers that are very positive. So yeah, many volunteers actually, it can be life-changing for them. And I can say from firsthand that this was life-changing for me too, because I was volunteers before, and that's why we do this project too. So yeah, that's it. I mean, that was my presentation. I wanted to be short, so now I'm open to your questions.
Thank you, Yanis. I am impressed by the number of volunteers that you mentioned from 2014. I mean, I am very well aware of how much work that is, and administration it takes to manage all the applications, because these are people, not paper applications that you accept, and there are so many. I am personally very much impressed by the focus you put both on local communities' needs and the volunteers' profile. I found it exemplary. But let me open the floor and hear some questions and comments from our from other people in the room.
I don't have a question. I would just like to comment. I really like the work that you do. I mean, I'm really impressed that you are trying to involve the people, the youth with less opportunities and with some disadvantages, let's say. And I really like in both examples this cooperation between generation. I mean, in my organization, we don't do that still. But when I was EVS volunteer, I did something like that. So I think this is really important topic that is not so popular still, and it's something that is needed in general in Europe. So I just wanted to tell that I really like your story, and I like that it's really green, everything. I think this is also something that we need more.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think actually it's a very it's something new for our volunteers many times to go to a retirement home or work with elderly that have troubles or they are in some hard position, because for many young people, it's the first time they come in contact with really elderly people, and they are afraid sometimes to go there. But surprisingly, many times after, they say this is one of the best examples, because really elderly are very grateful just to meet young people. Sometimes when we work in a village and I don't know, 15 young people come there and help, the elderly they care more about having young people again in the village after so many years, because some villages are basically empty. There are no young people anymore. They say it's so nice. It's like when we were young, you know, where there were still young people here, and they're just happy to see them. So I think for both of them, it's very beneficial to have this connection, intergenerational work, and so on.
I would just like to comment that I'm happy to meet an organization which is has real solidarity activities, and I'm happy to network this way so we can exchange our contacts and maybe share some good practice in more details.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah, sharing practice is very, very important, and it allows us to create contacts. Yes. Can you just, I have a question. Are you using short-term group projects mainly, yes, or also long-term?
We in the past we did everything, but for us, I think it works best that we have a short-term group projects. They last for 2 months, which is just maximum for short terms. Because in this time, you know, volunteers can already learn, you know, how to work with tools and so on. I teach them this too, and also learn about the system and everything. And they become like a family basically, because they all come together, live together, so they really connect a lot. But we don't want to make it longer also because we want to offer more young people this opportunity, because I think it's just good for them to experience it. And if you would have them for 1 year, then it's only, let's say, 15 people for a year. If you have more groups, like 4 or 5 groups a year, then 60. So in this, this is like basically the reason we don't want to have it too long. And also it really works because, you know, in my experience, if you have longer term stays, then especially in big groups, then you can have a lot of tensions. You know, if people come for shorter time, like small things that would bother them, they don't bother them so much because they say, okay, it's only 2 weeks more and then we go. So we don't have basically a lot of conflicts in our group. But if you have it for a year, then, you know, these small disagreements and cultural differences, they become more emphasized. Then you have a lot of work with these social tensions. We work a lot with that too. We have basically also support for them a lot. We work on this a lot. We have weekly meetings and daily morning circles, everything like this. But still, you know, if you have like 2 people that are not compatible, it can be detrimental to the group. So basically in 2 months, it doesn't show so much. In longer, in my experience, it showed much more.
Thank you.
One more question from my side. How did your organization develop through time? Was it already at the beginning that you had such strong links to the solidarity, or it has been somehow gradually?
Thank you. It's a good question. Yes, it takes years for local community to trust you and to really actually start to contact you when they have problems. For example, with Center for Social Work, we needed, I think, 3 years since we first contacted them until they first trusted us with first work. And after that, now we basically work all the time with them. So it needs time for sure that you build this network. Now we have a big network and we have a lot of trust. But yeah, it's not fast, you know. Then another thing is it took us also years to develop our infrastructure. You know, we got an old army barracks, which was basically a ruin. So we needed years to renovate it. And we didn't really have a lot of money. So we did it all by ourselves with the help of volunteers too. So yeah, it took quite a long time, you know. Let's say for last 2 or 3 years, we have like infrastructure and connections that really enable us to do like a very good job. And before it was hard.
If I can add one more question, I'm very now started to be very curious about your case, especially because of the very high number of volunteers that you host. Means that you have a very developed network of partners that are sending you, or how do you manage this?
Yeah. You know, when we started, there was no ESC program yet. So we did a lot of, I don't know, we promoted ourselves on, I don't know, Workaway, Woof, and all this kind of stuff. So we got volunteers from there. Now we have mostly ESC, but we also have a network of international partners that send us their volunteers. So now we have, say, close to 10 organizations that we really regularly work with them. So let's say about half volunteers come from them and half come through our program that we make, you know, through ESC.
And from the Balkans?
From the Balkans, let's say not so much really. Mostly we have volunteers from Western Europe, even though we always open also application for people from Balkans, but yeah, they're not so interested. I don't know, maybe maybe also I can see, you know, from Slovenia, there are not so many volunteers. Maybe it's more developed, this mentality, you know, that they have to go before studies or after studies, that they have to go and volunteer around the world. Maybe there in Western Europe, I don't know, France or Germany, it's kind of just more normal for young people to go. I don't know why it's like this, but it is, yeah.
It's a series of issues, but having you here in the meeting means you are, I hope, also available to accept volunteers from Western Balkans and facilitate this cooperation. And I hope the organizations here present will find this story inspiring and contact you with their volunteers to send to your programs. And
Sure,
we'll have a follow-up at some point to see how it goes.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
There is no any other comment or questions for Yanis? Well, first, is there any other comment and questions for Yanis from the group? Okay, we are ready for Michaela Różanecka. Yes, Różanecka from Luzanski organization from Czech Republic. It's yours,
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Michaela, and I'm a coordinator of European Solidarity Corps program in Luzanki. Technically, I'm a former coordinator, but I can explain later. We're based in Czech Republic, in Brno, the second biggest city, as you can see on the map where we're located. And it will be probably very different type of experience because we're leisure time center, and already by that definition we are, I would say, like quite ordinary one, which means we are doing what would you expect from leisure time center. So mainly doing like free time activities for kids. You can put another slide. So our main agenda is providing hobby clubs for kids, educational programs for schools, a lot of different trainings which are certified by Ministry of Education. So it's usually for teachers or workers with youth. And of course, during the summer, our biggest part of the work would be summer camps for kids. By the target groups, it's mainly kids from let's say kindergarten till teenagers, but also we do provide like a lot of activities for adults, and we are trying to focus also on seniors because yeah, we realize that in our like in general, probably in Czech Republic, leisure time activities for older people, like elderly, it's not that easy to find. So now there's like a big focus on also spread it into that target group. More or less, you can see like for how many kids we can have by average in during the school year. We are the biggest leisure time center in Czech Republic, also the oldest. We're now entering, I think, 74th season. Since before during the Velvet Revolution, it wasn't called Luzanki, but still the same organization doing the same work. So that's why we have quite a long history, I would say. And we have more workplaces in the city. This is our main building in the center of Brno, in the park. That's how we are called Luzanki, because the park itself is called Luzanki. And but we also have like workplaces all around the Brno, basically in, let's say, like main neighborhoods. So we can provide the activities for the local community from the neighborhood, and they don't have to cross the whole city to join some kind of activities. Plus, mainly we're located in Brno, but we also have some places out of Brno. One is in one village next to Brno. One is actually in different part of Czech Republic, and that's where we usually host what we call schools in nature. Like when the school goes for 1 week for like some kind of like training out of the school. And we also started to do, let's say, chain of kindergartens. This one mentioned here, Lentilka, it's because we're like partially financed by regional government and partially by like our own activity. So we have kindergarten for employees of the regional government here in Brno and for our own employees. But we also have like kids group in those workplaces we have in neighborhoods. And this part of work is kind of spreading every year. We're opening new places now for a request of the government of this region. We just opened a new one in another, let's say, village, which is like really close to Brno. Like there is still public transport coming. And maybe as you can see, just interesting thing about our name, it's that all the workplace, it starts with letter L. So like all the other one would be always word which starts with L. Yeah, we can continue. And about volunteering in our organization. So basically we joined the program, which was called, if I'm not mistaken, by the time Youth in Action. So we started to host and send volunteers in 2006. Of course, it started just with, I don't know, hosting like 2 people. Up to 2017 and 18 season, we had 14 volunteers. That was the highest number we did. And in 2014, we decided also to become a lead organization, or now it's called like lead organization. It used to be coordinating one. So we're hosting volunteers not just in our organization itself, but also in other organizations in Brno. Used to be 4. Now in the last season, it was only 2 because those other 2 didn't get the quality label again. And by the numbers, you can see how many people we hosted, how many we sent till now. About the countries, I think we also have quite a wide experience of European, but also non-European countries, because we were like before regularly taking people from the partner countries. And by Western Balkan, from what I found, because I work in Lužanki or on this position for 3 years. So I also know some volunteers which were there, let's say 2 years before, because I was also mentor of the volunteers. Like myself, I went for my volunteering project through Lužanki as a funding organization. So I know more people, but some of them I didn't, but we have a list, of course. So we were working, we had a volunteer from Bosnia and Herzegovina, 2 guys from Macedonia, and 1 guy from Montenegro. So that's our experience from that part of Europe. As I understood, like I should explain a bit more why we joined the program. As I said, we joined originally Youth in Action. So by the time there was no like solidarity fully included in any name, even though, to be honest, I don't see that much difference in the program itself because it still works the same. So definitely one of the biggest topics was bringing some multicultural education in a way that by the time that wasn't that many foreigners, for example, living in Brno. So we wanted to bring that experience to our clients, to the local communities, like, hello, there are some people from abroad and they are as normal as we are. So like, you know, your kids can meet them in the activities. And we just try to share this, how to say, yeah, that like even other people from other countries can be like as much useful as our people, and they are just like doing great work, and they even join the program, like, which is based on volunteering. So that was one of the reasons. Definitely then enrich the community by itself, because we do like a lot of things for public, for families with kids. The volunteers always like helping in those activities, bringing their own activities, opening their own, I don't know, language lessons and stuff. Yeah, itself, we wanted just to like show, like put the focus on volunteering is a normal part of life, you know. It's not something like weird people do. It's just like something what should be natural for everybody, that like sometimes you just work because you want to do it and you're not paid for that. And even like in our organization, of course, we do have a lot of Czech volunteers who are coming. Me myself, I was for a couple of years, I was leading a dance lessons in Lužanky, and I was not getting any money for that. I was doing that because I was enjoying that activity. So we're trying to like also promote this thing as value, which just should be normal thing for everybody. And also it brings the picture to the like our young people that they can join those programs and just go volunteer somewhere else. That it's nice to be involved in activities in your country, in your city, but you can also do those stuff wherever else you want, basically. Also, the point which was accented a lot by our previous director was to connect us a bit with the world, you know, not just to play like in Czech Republic and just be focused on like things happening here, but to bring something from Europe. Like already the cooperation with the organization means that the like in other countries, they will know us as an organization, and that we can we established other types of cooperation, like some of the workplaces are organizing youth exchanges. They are involved in other bigger projects, not just through Solidarity Corps. So that's why then, of course, also for our organization itself, it's a good for our employees to meet simply other people from other cultures. Already by the language, it's a big challenge for a lot of our employees, because unfortunately English or any other language it's still like standard here for people who already works for some time. Maybe between like young people or my generation it's more common, but not for like older people. And also it brings new activities and events, because volunteers come with their own ideas, and sometimes it works that they brought something what stayed here for like longer period, or they just organized, I don't know, exhibitions, like their mini projects. So it's like enriching our range of activities we offer. And what I could share as a good practice from usually it was like what our volunteers were doing as their own initiative. Of course, one of the like, let's say, easiest idea you would have when you have a person from abroad, it's they were organizing language classes and cultural evenings. That was always very nice, because there was like, of course, food included, music included. So that brought to people from abroad, to the people from the local community, it brought the real touch with somebody. It wasn't like, okay, let's go for a, I don't know, like some presentation of somebody who traveled, like Czech person traveling somewhere and like just showing photos. Here you could see like, you know, Spanish person who just came from Spain. Like that person will show you like, I don't know, their hometown. They will like cook the food. They can put you like their favorite music and stuff like that. So it's showing the culture way more than just like possibly watching something. And language classes, for example, in one of the workplaces we had, for some reason, they were just always choosing Spanish volunteers. It wasn't on purpose, because we were not ever like choosing concretely from like specific countries. So those language classes could even like continue several years. So there was already people always, you know, looking forward for another volunteer to come, like if there will be new classes, and they could like really progress. Some of the volunteers did exhibitions because they were like very talented by art. So they were taking pictures, or they were doing paintings. I was thinking maybe I can, yeah. So even one of the volunteers was showing the exhibition, like she won some kind of competition here organized by Expat Center. Then some of the volunteers were cooperating in like putting their articles and putting what they wrote, for example, into like guide organized or printed by the local Expat Center, where they were described legends like about Brno, but like in their language. We did some of cooperation of volunteers from different workplaces, because in Lužanky, like we have volunteers, like each of them working in different workplaces. So like the aim of the work is a bit different. So sometimes they join from different workplaces and they do project together. So once they did, for example, the workshop, the volunteer working in children circus, doing workshop of those stuff for Roma kids, because another volunteer was working in a Roma museum. And sometimes we also recruiting new employees from those volunteers. So we did have some volunteers who actually stayed there like for a few years after joining like regular Lužanki activities. So challenges for cooperation with non-EU countries. The most is visa agenda in general, because there is not big support from our national agency in that topic. So that was always the problem. Of course, it's even worse with like non-European countries, where you have to do everything for months ahead. You never know if they will make it on time or not. You have to get a lot of papers, then you have to send it there and just hope like you will make everything, and nobody wants anything additional. So that's always the biggest issue. And we were always taking, as I mentioned, people from whatever, like Russia, Egypt, Morocco, Turkey, Armenia, Georgia. Just we stopped that with COVID, because simply the Czech embassy stopped to work. So it was impossible to get here people we needed with visa. And kind of like after that, now with Ukraine, it's another issue, because now like embassies are busy with the agenda for like Ukrainians. So past 2 years, we were already not taking those volunteers, because we would never make them to come. Then sending organizations in some countries, it's just difficult to find partners or to find partners who are like actually reliable and they're communicating and they are doing the work. Also, then for cooperation with Western Balkan, we were never doing the project like that. We would be writing project for somebody else, as I understood. And it was explained to me because of the budget thing, because I think it would be like we are getting the money, but like the money it's used by the organization abroad. And it's just our economical department, it's anyhow happy about that, because like, as I said, our main activities are like providing activities here for like hobby clubs for kids mostly. Joining European Solidarity Corps, it's just like really small part of agenda if you think about like how big organization we are. So so it's like difficulty in that. Also about the staff, basically it's just me doing like the volunteering program in Lužanki. We used to have, I think, 2 people before, so it's not that easy to host volunteers, send volunteers, and plus doing some kind of other agreements. And also with like established partnerships, I know a lot of organizations just have like problems to find volunteers for that special partnership. I mean, for example, if I would be always having partnership with Germany, I would be struggling sending people to Germany to the concrete project, and opposite. And then in the end, I just like put there the contacts. We do have website just about the Solidarity Corps in our organization. We do have Facebook, where we share stories about volunteers we're hosting and volunteers who are abroad, like sent by us. And if you would want to discuss whatever else with me, then like you can contact me on the email, which, as you can see, stayed with the EVS name, because we just find quite troubles to totally change the email if we already have like contacts for everybody in that one, because voluntary service before was probably the longest period when the program was called like that. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Michaela, for your presentation and a very honest feedback to the cooperation of the Balkans. We are very also very aware of the obstacles in cooperating, especially in writing projects that are to be hosted in the Balkans, but wrote by program country organizations. However, solidarity comes in various forms, and this is and this workshop is also, among other things, an invitation for organizations to cooperate and try the technical obstacles not to prevent exchange in the region. From what I heard, organizations from Western Balkans might benefit a lot by sending you volunteers rather than you sending to the Balkans. But this is, let's say, in terms of priority, this might be a way to start a cooperation and build trust for further projects. The floor is open for comments and questions to the group.
I wanted to comment on including participants, EST participants or EVS before, participants from non-EU countries, which I think is another added layer of inclusion and solidarity, because you have to go through this whole procedure of going through the visas, and it's obviously more complicated than including other participants. So I think that would always have to be considered when evaluating the just the overall success of a project, and in general, that's something that really brings an additional layer of solidarity. I did want to kind of give you our example from Croatia, because I think we have a similar, I think we have a similar situation regarding the visas. We always encourage our beneficiaries to include as many participants from a variety of countries, the EU and including those that are not in the EU. But we just simply, as a national agency, don't have a legal framework to help our beneficiaries with the visa system. So the only thing that we can do, and that we do on a regular basis, is that we have our director sign sort of a letter confirming that this participant is going to participate in the European Solidarity program for, you know, this amount of time, and they're going to be living at a certain address with this organization that has a quality label and so on. So in many cases, it's something that kind of helps with the process. Sometimes they call us or contact us to check if that's true or not, but I've noticed that it really helps. So that might be something that you might consider.
That's like our national agency, and I think maybe it's not requested, but they do provide us like some kind of like recommendation letter or something that they are even confirming, like, yeah, that volunteer with that name. No, so like, yeah, we're using that. It's just yeah, whatever else, it's difficult even to get answer from that. But I know they don't have any power in that, because even though they're in our country, they're like their organization run by our Ministry of Education, national agency. So seems even like through any connections or any, I don't know, maybe pressure they are putting somewhere, it's not working. And I wanted to say that it's also a big difference, of course, for us. Like previously, it's way more difficult to get a volunteer from, let's say, Turkey, or we used to have a lot of Russian volunteers, which now would be pretty much impossible. But that process, it's way more difficult and takes really like 6 months. Then I can imagine that, for example, from countries in Western Balkans, the process would be a bit shorter. As I said, we had volunteers from Macedonia and from Montenegro and Bosnia. So we are like still open to take those people, just maybe even with like Europe itself would be easier to go into the process even now. It's just like for now, from the partner countries, it's really impossible, and kind of we can't risk it because it already happened in 2009, 2020, we chose people before COVID started, and then like with COVID, it was impossible to get the Russian volunteers here because embassies were closed. Plus, we have some other diplomatic issues with Russia already run before. So then it's kind of September comes, you have everybody coming, and suddenly like you have to find 3 other new volunteers just because of, you know, we couldn't get them. So we're still open to do that. Just now for it's really difficult situation even after COVID still didn't came back to what it was before. So hopefully it will like fix soon. Or also the thing it's technically we were not even getting many applications, for example, from like Western Balkan countries, even though we were like open and already after joining one training with a lot of organization from Western Balkan, which was organized, even like Magda was included. So even after like sending them, you know, directly the like, hey, we're opening positions, we were not really getting application from those countries itself. So it's like we're open to that. Just
well, Michela, having you here and presenting for the organizations that are now online is one of the steps, and we are going to share the details of your organizations and the recording also with the other representatives of Western Balkan organizations who are in search of contacts and good projects. And I think me personally, I would like to ask to have an open mind and continue making these decisions based on principle, and the principle is solidarity with the regions, and then deal with the technicalities as they come, instead of putting the technicalities first, which is what you did, and you showed us that you did cooperate with the Western Balkans, and we do hope that this will continue later on. And let me encourage organizations here present to consider this contact and reach you after the meeting and propose if they can, if they have volunteers, and see to get to know the program more. And we will follow up on how this contact making went. With this meeting, we have several other important guests. We've heard Emma from National Agency of Croatia. With us, we also have Natasha Žebelovic from Movi Slovenia, and Andrej, who you know from South to Southeast Europe, and Magda Svobodova, our QL expert assessor in front of South to Southeast pool of assessors. So I would like to invite you, Emma. You can start as you took the floor first, and give us your input and intervention, how you see it following these discussions. How do you see these difficulties in cooperation with the Western Balkan countries? How do you spot a clear solidarity aspect in volunteering programs? And yeah, your intervention to this meeting.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to say that something that I wanted to say about Humanitarna Udruga Mladen Ferkač, which is the organization from Croatia that Matea presented about, which I realize actually applies to all 3 of these projects. And that is that these organizations have actually recognized a real need in the wider community and are engaged in activities that are necessary and that fill a gap in the system that was kind of overlooked, I mean, by the system, and it's not addressed in Croatia at the state level. So solidarity here would be mostly reflected in these activities that are directed towards vulnerable groups and that are filling this kind of very, very vivid need that the community has. When talking about our Croatian example, you also have these 2 levels of solidarity, which are, you know, the activities that are directed towards vulnerable groups and at the same time that they include young people with fewer opportunities. So these participants, not only do they get to share in the activities, but they also get this added value of being part of something that they usually wouldn't be able to. And I know, speaking with Matea a lot, that's something that has been a big deal. She would tell me that they can't believe that they had an opportunity to be part of such a project. So in this regard, we have solidarity on every aspect. As far as difficulties are concerned, of course, we are aware of the fact that it's more difficult to cooperate with non-program countries. There's always ways, I guess, and I guess the only way that I can kind of bring my 2 cents here is that we have to keep trying. We have to not stop, not let these kind of difficulties stop us. Even with the visa situation that Michaela was telling us about, we have a lot of organizations, and currently we have a lot of activities that were pushed back because these beneficiaries and these organizations wanted to include non-program country participants, and we advised all of them not to give up on these participants because they were waiting for the visas and the processes for like months, for half a year, and at a certain point they just wanted to give up and find someone else. So we were encouraging them not to give up, to kind of try and be as inclusive as possible and try and give these young people a chance, even though the process, the administrative process and the strain on the organizations might be a bit bigger, but in the end, it's what the program was made for, I think.
Yes, the feeling is that somewhat technical obstacles mess with priorities and values somehow. They don't allow the very clear priority of inclusion and solidarity to come out in practical terms.
Exactly.
And it is very valuable to hear that a program country such as Croatia, even though very close to the Balkans, is seeing this as a priority, which we, when I say we, representing organizations from Western Balkans, appreciate a lot, because this is really a very big obstacle. Well, following this line of discussion, I will then invite Natasha to give us her input on the topic and her overview of the Slovenian organizations that also presented, and the others if an intervention is there. So, Natasha, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. I hope my connection is going to be good. Because of that, I was also turning off the camera a bit. So, yeah, what at our Slovenian NAD think what is now more solid there in the project than in the previous program that didn't have this solidarity so emphasized, is this shift within organizations that they focus a bit more not on themselves, or not even on this learning, not that much as this was requested before, but more on this working with local communities. This is one element that we see very important. And the second one, to somehow include the specific groups, target groups that are in need. And the organization that we've selected, I think, one of the best examples of solidarity that we have among our hosting organizations. We saw that they somehow do both of the things. And what I really like, for example, what I sometimes miss in some other projects, is this connection with organizations from the local environment that actually have an access to those people in need, to the target groups that the organization wants to reach. So it is impossible to have this contact, especially if maybe your emphasize what you did at the beginning was a bit different. So this connection with other organizations, like it was mentioned, Risitić, Red Cross, or social centers, organizations like this, I think this is very valuable to really reach the goals that the organization set. Jelena, I would also answer to your question. Yes, environmental solidarity exists because that's the solidarity with the environment. It's also the solidarity with the generations, future generations. I don't know if this is going to be mentioned, but I actually would like to bring in a bit of theory. This Salto for European Solidarity Corps made, it was established in 2018 after the establishment of this new program, and they made a research for FOT. It was a huge research, and they researched what this solidarity means to the researchers, for practitioners, for the policy, and for young people. And out of this big research, many people responding, the main outcome was that the four cornerstones of the concept of solidarity are human rights, empathy, active citizenship, and inclusion. I don't have enough time to maybe go more into it. I think we will just share this solidarity cake and also these findings of the research. Also, the organizations can use it a bit. You don't need to read it all, maybe it's a few parts, as a way how to understand better what does it mean to be solidar. Anyways, volunteering is meant as solidarity action. It's a solidarity action. But I've heard from the Czech organization that they don't really see like a difference, what's really different from the previous program or this program. But if you maybe try to understand the cornerstones, there are some concepts. For example, me personally, I'm not altruism is really solidarity, but that was one of the words that was in Mentimeter, like almost the height. So helping, it should be reciprocal. So there is inside, I think it was mentioned today how this is important, that both sides get something, not just those that we think are helped by the different actions, but those who are there to do the actions to improve something in the local environment. So I would stop with this. This is also the research. This is a topic that like really everybody could have a bit of a different view what solidarity is. So it's also hard to talk about definition. But this is good news because then each organization can find solidarity within their activities and somehow connect with the European solidarity.
Natasha, thank you. I'll remind everybody that in the Padlet, you have the link in the chat. The very publication that Natasha was mentioning is already uploaded with this cake of that is going around, I think, in every discussion on solidarity, so that you can have it in your resource toolbook book. Kit or how else to call it. Following Natasha, we have other speakers that have their input on the same topic, and I will invite Magda. She's the QL expert assessor, and the question, the same as the others, but more specifically, is what makes you sure as a QL expert that an organization has a clear solidarity aspect in their volunteering program, as you are the one who is assessing and giving accreditation to them?
Thank you, Jelena, for the question. Hello to everybody once more. I'm coming from the Czech Republic, and as Jelena said, I am like the quality label expert of Salto Southeast Europe for Western Balkan, also for Eastern Europe and Caucasus, for Salto Eastern Europe and Caucasus. back to the questions, like from my role of quality label expert, usually when we are going to the organization and we already know the like information about how the organization perceive the solidarity, how it is involved in the whole project idea and involving European Solidarity Corps volunteers. We are asking, what does it mean for solidarity for the organizations in the organization? So we are trying to find a link of activities the organization is doing together with how they understand, how the coordinator understands well the solidarity, and if they see some links in the concrete daily activities they are doing. So this is maybe the first opening of the discussion. And yes, then from that point, when we are discussing where do you find the solidarity in your activities, we are going step by step to the point. Imagine you will have European Solidarity Corps volunteers. Now try to imagine, try to explain us what does it mean solidarity for European Solidarity Corps volunteers in your organization, and then how they can support it, this topic. So this is like not 3 steps. It also, of course, depends how the organization explains all in the quality label form and how they explain it during the on-site visit. But we try to keep this line, like to discover how the future European Solidarity Corps coordinator understands the solidarity, if it is in terms of the European Solidarity Corps program, if like somehow more or less, and of course to connect it to their real concrete environment, real concrete activities they are doing, because the idea is still, even we are checking the quality in the organization, if the organization is enough prepared for sending and hosting European Solidarity Corps volunteers, we are also trying to give support. So through open questions, we are trying to give answers. What does it mean solidarity for you, for the coordinator, for the organization, how it is linked to their activities, and later on how it is linked to European Solidarity Corps volunteers. And if they imagine they already host or send volunteers, so then how they can work with the topic of solidarity with volunteers, how the volunteer can support it on the spot if they are already there in the organization. And of course, by talking about that, we also discover how the coordinator can contribute to solidarity as such, to the topic through different type of like different topics. Also, how it is, how is solidarity for volunteers if the organization is let's say enough solidarity to volunteers they are going to host and send, and also how it is with solidarity topic in the local community, how proposed volunteer hosted or sent can support then solidarity later on in the local community by working with children, youth, people, adults, and elderly people, for example. So this is this are 3 dimensions, and maybe come back to what was already mentioned when Natasha was mentioned the research of Salto European Solidarity Corps, which they did on the topic of solidarity. You will, as Jelena was mentioning, you will receive already, or you have already the links on that. There are specific, there are specific parts or like, let's say, topics which in the end were presented, like the common topics we are using during this European Solidarity Corps program, and that was like empathy, inclusion, human rights, and active citizenship, which are supported by 7 other topics like support, active participation, equalities of opportunities, strengthen communities, social justice, volunteering, and responsibility. And I think the research can be very useful to better understand the concept, and maybe also to lead us to some common understanding what we can see in concrete organizations, and which topic connected to solidarity we can discover there. I think it was also when I saw the research before and now when I hear the presentations of our concrete cases, I think it was very visible because from what we heard, there was a very strong aspect of inclusion and empathy in all three presentations. Then also bit connecting to the impact to local community, that it is not only influencing of the organization and volunteer, but also it has the activities elements, topics need to be somehow connected to local community. And also there's this link on volunteering that we would like to, like the activities the volunteers are doing and we all are doing are somehow based on a voluntary basis, and we would like to promote the volunteering as such as a value. So this is also part of this solidarity context, let's say. And maybe from the point of view of quality label expert, when I come back again to the situation where we are going to the organizations to check the quality of prepared idea for hosting or sending volunteers, for me personally, but I think it's also somehow in common in the network, is that we need to see that the organization is really, or the quality label, future quality label coordinator is really in line with the topic of solidarity in terms of values. That is, he really perceived the solidarity like the values, and that he like the motivation. And this is not something just written in the program guide or written somewhere else. Like this is this internal position of people which really are able and are willing to do this, to follow this topic and to support the topic during preparation and then mainly realization of European Solidarity Corps volunteering. So I would, and really maybe with this value position, and really to see, okay, we want to do it, and we maybe already now where to find solidarity connected to our daily activities, and to propose the European Solidarity Corps project or the set of activities for volunteers. Yeah.
Thank you, Magda. Finally, after your input, Andre, I will leave you for the end, if you don't mind. I would like to invite our guest organizations from the Western Balkan countries to comment or ask anything to Emma, Natasha, Magda, myself, or Andre, and please briefly also do your intervention and present yourself with an elevator pitch on how you design your volunteering programs to address the aspect of solidarity. So, questions for our speakers, Emma, Natasha, Magda, and Andre and myself, of course, we are here, and your intervention. How do you design your programs to address the aspect of solidarity? So we have Milica, we have Anna, Mirjana, Dušica. We would like to give the floor to you.
I can briefly comment. All the information that I just heard are really useful, because I come from Sombor Educational Center. It's an organization in Serbia, and we work mostly with youth and children. And currently we are in process of re-getting, let's say, quality label, because we had it until 2020, and now we are doing reaccreditation. So it was really useful, especially the things that Magda was telling about. So where do I see solidarity in our activities? I would say that I see it in more or less all of our activities, because we designed all of them actually to include our volunteers, because not just ESC volunteers, because we have volunteers in general in our organization. So most of them are designed like that we include volunteers in local community, and it's activities that actually show solidarity mostly to local communities. And let's say on the first place to young people and people from disadvantaged groups, because it's our main group with whom we cooperate. And we have one special program that maybe I would like to say about. It's called School of Goodwill, and it's a program where we have individual classes one-on-one. They are given by volunteers that have special training in our organization, and we give the classes most for the children who are from some groups that are marginalized. So it's most based on them. I don't know, it's, for example, people who children who come from poor families or who have some like, I don't know, problems in their behavior. And in one period we were working also, because here in Sombor we have refugee camp with children from refugee camp, and they have classes with volunteers, and in some special cases it's even like mixed groups. So we have this moment of inclusion, for example, when it came to refugees. So this is maybe where I see solidarity in our activities, but it depends, of course, from activity to activity. But we really try to base all of activities, not just for ESC in general, on the, let's say, topic of solidarity, because I think for any NGO it's really important topic, and it should be something that we have in our work in general. And thank you for all of your presentation. They were really useful, and I think I learned more today about solidarity that I don't know on a lot of trainings that were mostly theoretical. And I think it's good here that we always have a lot of practical examples, because I mean, that's how you learn about the topic, and you also can take some things that we can use in our organizations later.
Thank you very much. We are wrapping up, and if Dušica, Mirjana, and Anna want to make a brief comment, I invite you to do so.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm really I'm really satisfied with everything that's said, and I'm really happy that these positive things and changes are happening in our environment and our surroundings. I just want to say that we in our youth center in Laktaši, that's in Bosnia, we are still kind of struggling to get acceptance by our local community that youth centers are actually good and they're not like some secta, how they perceive it. I don't know for what reason, but it's really a small community and it's still not normalized. And I don't know for what reason. Like maybe it's just these small places that they don't get. Why do children have to go, or young people have to go somewhere to hang out and do these activities and go to volunteer? I don't know. It's just really, for me, it's difficult to get how this is not normal, how this is not good for the community, you know? So that's just like our internal problem.
As Janet said, you need some years to,
yes.
to arrive to the point to establish trust with the communities. Just be persistent.
Yeah.
Be persistent.
So thanks everyone.
But thank you very much for this.
Or maybe Dušica just remind them how the 60s functioned and how actually the Yugoslavia was rebuilt after Second World War. So activism and voluntarism and young people actually build it by their own hands. Just check with their parents.
Maybe they think Dodik built everything. So I don't know, because Laktaši is actually the the chair position of Dodik. He's from this place.
Well, thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
Andrei, you opened the meeting, and I would like to ask you to close it also with your intervention. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jelena, and thanks to all the organizations that we invited. I'm really happy and thankful for the testimonies that you gave to us. It's really a great gift, and I feel that we have started here something nice. We already addressed a few times this topic on our meetings, and I see the need that we still continue to do so. It is true that the program has changed, and organizations we still find are struggling to understand what the concept of solidarity can mean. And I think if the recording from this session goes through well, that they will be really able to help themselves with listening to your stories. I would also really like to thank a lot to the colleagues from national agencies and Magda to join us, and trainers. I think it was really inspiring for all, and that we have been listening carefully throughout these 2 hours. We are already a bit off from the 2 hours that we initially planned, So I would just like to mention one thing that our Salto has as a supportive measure, and this is called body support system. Just two sentences. How does it work? We would like to support the start of a new coming organization from the Western Balkans. As you can imagine, newcomers need really a lot of support, and we are trying to bridge all these difficulties that many of you were mentioning: visas, application procedures, and all this with this measure. So I will post the link here to the chat, to our Facebook post. So please check if your organization coming from the program country would be maybe interested in supporting stepping into the Solidarity Corps of one of the organizations from our region. And this also applies to our organizations that are present here. So what to say? I'm really thankful and hope that we will meet somewhere again soon on some other event where we will have more time to be able to discuss these things. Yes, I'm now giving the floor back to you. Thanks again to all. Thanks also to Jelena for facilitating this. I think we could need another 2 hours, but maybe next time, not now.
Contact making seminars. This might be the priority that we want to put. Thanks from my side as well. Have a nice rest of the day, and have a look at Padlet, where we are going to upload all the contents, and have a look on other workshops if you are curious on what they produced.